fed little squid. It's so tiny. It's so small. Why is it so small? Why are you so small? Oh! I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Hey everyone, as always Jarek here, and welcome to a comfort pick of a game. I love playing source mods. I've played so many hours of Half-Life 2, it's a familiar feeling. We've all used this engine a lot. So when you play a source mod, you kind of know the general feeling of what you're getting into, even if it has new content and new enemies. At least all of this is what I would say if this mod didn't suck. But before I talk about why, let's thank today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is NordPass. NordPass is powered by the same NordVPN cybersecurity professionals that I have worked with in the past for previous sponsors. Trust me when I say these guys really are professionals. They also, for a limited time, have a 1-year premium plan for 50% off if you go to nordpass.com/gundragon or use code GUNDRAGON. It's an app that allows you to store all your passwords in one place, organize your logins and private notes in a secure password vault. Access it all with a single master password. The human mind is notoriously bad at making truly random or complex passwords. If you think it's random, there is going to be a pattern to it. This is where NordPass comes in, because it can make a truly random and complex password. The more random and complex your password is, the safer it is. That's also some interesting information if you want to go on a YouTube search to figure out how minds actually deal with things that are random. And not very good, spoiler, but it's really interesting if you want to look into that. NordPass will also recognize suspicious websites so that you don't accidentally reveal private information. And probably the most useful new tool they have added is the Data Breach Scanner. Now you can find out if any of your information has already been revealed in the past, so whatever you need to change, you can change immediately. But it's hard to know what you need to change if you don't know what has been breached. And that's where NordPass comes in. If you want to try out NordPass for yourself, once again, we have a limited time deal that is a premium plan for 50% off if you go to nordpass.com/gundragon or use the code GUNDRAGON. As always, a big thanks goes to NordPass for sponsoring this video. This channel could not exist without sponsors like NordPass. I genuinely expected this mod to be quite good. In fact, that's why I picked it up to begin with. I usually don't bother with mods unless they have a bunch of new content and new stuff to play around in, and some mods can be amazing experiences. So when I saw the general level of quality in the world's maps and the weapons in this mod, I had to give it a try. What I wasn't expecting was a mod full of poorly designed puzzles and terrible pacing. First, let's talk about the graphics though, because I do have some positives to say about this mod. It is a pretty good looking mod, and keep in mind this is the source engine, so you should probably lower your expectations of how good it should look. This engine came out in 2004. Again, the keywords are for a source mod, and again, for a source mod, it's pretty well done. There's a lot of attention to detail, the environments look like they could actually exist. However, a lot of these things kind of play to its detriment. There is way too much going on. The general environment got in the way of where I was supposed to be going. It would pull my eyes to something completely irrelevant to whatever puzzle I was doing at the time. Or maybe there was just so much clutter I wouldn't even see the fuse that was laying right on the ground in front of me. I'll talk about these things as I go on. Just note that as good as this looks, it shouldn't come at the detriment of gameplay, and unfortunately this does. This mod also loves filters, including a Battlefield 3 filter whenever you're walking around on snow. Apparently snow is blue because it's cold, I guess, and blue is a cold color. I don't know why they did this. They'll have similar filters if you're underground or it's supposed to be incredibly dark. I don't really know. I don't quite enjoy how it looks with filters. It just makes it harder to see what you're trying to find. On the plus side, this mod is easy to install. It is one click on Steam, it's only 6 GB, and then you're playing. Now let's talk about the story, because this modder did genuinely try. I just have no idea what he was trying. Something to do with alternate dimensions and alternate universes, I have no idea what's going on. The main problem here is that the game introduces you right at the beginning with a bit of story, and then there's just big gaps where nothing really happens, so you don't really understand what's going on. The only thing I picked up is that there was some woman I had to rescue that was being captured by some rebels or something. I won't pretend, I have no idea what happened. What I can tell you is that this mod is a classic case of mod voice acting.
While our unit was trying to unveil the main sealed gate leading to the lab core, the intel unit known as Epsilon had already found and entered the core that they went.
Alert! Our defense is broken! Everyone get to the surface!
What has me even more curious is that your character you play as is not a silent protagonist. He has a voice actor. He does speak. Yet all the time, he randomly flips out his PDA so you can read text of him talking? Why doesn't he just say it? Why do I have to pull a PD out to read what I'm thinking? So you're probably not playing this game for the story, but I mean, it's a source mod. How often are you playing a source mod for the story? Let's just go on to the gameplay. I'll give them a little bit of credit first. The guns in this game are really good. Holy shit, this Garand is amazing. This mod even gives you a training ground, which is really just a firing range, and thank God, I feel like every game should do this. That gives you a place to test out your aim, to test out all the weapons in the game, and just get your settings proper. Whether you're single player or multiplayer, this is something that should exist. I love it when games do this. While we're on the topic of things that every game should have, every multiplayer game should have a gun game mode because I feel like that should be mandatory. Everyone loves gun game. It's also a great place to warm up your aim. Anyway, these guns are really good. They're modeled well, the reload animations are smooth, they sound nice and punchy, and they're also stronger than the base Half-Life 2 weapons. Most of these weapons are based off real weapons. You'll find an AK, a SPAS 12, a double barrel, a Garand in Russia for some reason. They do have iron sights, but they also have proper recoil, so it feels a lot more natural instead of the usual iron sight implementation into a Half-Life 2 mod. Even when they decided to bring back old weapons, like say the USP match that you got at the beginning of Half-Life 2, they changed how it felt and gave it new animations. Same thing can be said for the pulse rifle that the Combine carry. They even added a proper little scope thing to it. Trust me when I say the weapons in this mod feel really good, and it should make the combat fantastic. Problem is, the combat basically doesn't exist. This is going to be one of those games. One of those games where you're saying, what the fuck do I do and where the fuck do I go? Remember when I said this mod has a pacing problem? Most of the time when a game has a pacing problem, it's just that the game is constantly throwing combat at you and you start getting bored and it's just the same thing over and over again. This is the first time I've seen a mod have a pacing problem that's just puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. After a certain point, I questioned if I was ever even going to be able to shoot enemies, or why there was even combat in the game. Puzzles were clearly the main focus of the mod, but not very well. You don't see your first enemy in this game until 23 minutes in. And even then, that's just a head crab that you punch with your fists. You don't find your first gun until 37 minutes into the game. That should tell you what your experience is going to be. It's a shame they put all of this effort into the guns just to kind of ignore them. They even added back the bull squids, which should be awesome. More enemy variety. You just never get to fight them. At this point, you may be saying, okay, well, Jarek, I get it. You just don't like puzzles, but I like puzzles, so shut up and stop whining. That's not really the problem. The problem is that these puzzles are done incredibly poorly. And most of the time, they're not even really puzzles. They're just roadblocks for no reason. There's no reason for the puzzles to exist, and they don't even make sense. It constantly feels like the game is stopping progression, padding out what should be a 2-hour-long game into a 6-hour-long game. Let me make an example. You know that person you were supposed to save? Well, at some point you find her in her cell. She, for whatever reason, has a blue key. I don't know why they didn't take it off of her before throwing into the cell, but whatever. You have a blue key and access to a lot of doors around her now. Your main goal is to get the yellow key so you can get her out of her cell. You open a few doors, find a few different wrenches, take them into another room where you open up the side panel. Now, looking at this, you would assume this is just going to be one of those matching puzzles where you move wires where they need to be moved. But you can't interact with it at all. There's nothing here you can do. If you're like me, you'll sit here confused, wondering what the hell you're supposed to do before giving up and going to another room thinking there's something else you have to do first. I stumble into this room, which has clear access to another room blocked by spiderwebs. These spiderwebs act like a wall. I don't know why, they're damn strong spiderwebs, but there's a stove right in front of you and a lot of beans. So naturally you assume, okay, turn on the stove and put beans on the stove. I mean, if you cook them long enough, maybe they'll blow up or something, I don't know, video game logic. Well, this didn't work, and eventually I had to figure out you had to walk way around the corner to the other side of this area to pick up a fuel can to put it on there to blow it up. Just to get rid of spider webs. Remember when I said the worlds are too detailed and oftentimes will distract the player from what they should actually be doing? This is a prime example, and this happens all the time. Anyway, you remember that wire puzzle you couldn't do? Well, that's not actually what you have to do. There are 10 things in this room that you have to drag into the other room and put into the correct cabinet. You'll know because the light will shine green. Why do I need to put these in the correct cabinet? I don't know. That's not a puzzle. It's not like I'm figuring something out. It's just trial and error. Does it work in this one? Nope. Go to the next one. Does it work in this one? Nope. Go to this one. Oh, look, there's a green light. You did it right. You do this for like 10 of these different things, and it eventually opens a door. This door will lead you further away from your goal, and eventually you'll end up fighting a cloud of thunder? I'm not kidding you. It's just a cloud of lightning, just a gas form. There's an element of stealth here where if you stay in the open for too long, it starts zapping you. You'd figure that in order to not get zapped, you'd just break line of sight, right? Nope, it's literally just hiding in bushes. You can't break line of sight, it's just find the closest bush. Anyway, eventually you'll get a flare gun and all this tension is completely removed because shooting a flare gun at it will just scare it away. At least for 30 seconds or so, and you get enough ammo to where you don't even need to worry about it. They had a really good opportunity here to make something actually meaningful. Think of something like in, say, Half-Life 1 where you had to avoid the tentacle and try to kill it, but they didn't bother. Here you just have to go around turning all these green lights into red lights and then suddenly you're teleported to a boat. Alright, sure, I guess. Oh, also before all this happened, they took away your guns, so you have nothing to defend yourself. On this boat you have to punch a bull squid, which really does a lot of damage to you, and then eventually you get some guns back. But also on this boat, you have to find 4 different batteries to lift a forklift so you can jump across some cargo containers. Why? There is no point for this. This is what I mean when I say puzzles have no reason to exist in this game. It's not like I learned something, it's not like something clicked in my brain and I felt satisfied after I solved the puzzle. No, it's just do a prop hunt and find 4 batteries in this cluttered area to lift this up so you can jump across. Why couldn't I just walk across the bridge? There are so many roadblocks in this game just like this. Anyway, once you finally do that, you get access to this orange card, drive a boat an incredibly short distance to a door. Oh, come on. They just remove my weapons again. Cool. And let her out of her cell. All of that was to free this NPC who was supposed to be important to the story, by the way, for reasons I have no idea why. And all she gives you is an emergency kit that allows you to put on a gas mask to go through a tunnel full of gas, and then you immediately take it off again. All of that work just for that. Let's take another example. The game alludes to you driving a snowmobile for quite a while, and eventually when you get to it, it says the engine is too cold to start. Cool, whatever. You follow the power lines as you would do in a video game, you find a generator, but there's no fuel in the generator. You go back, find some fuel, put some fuel into the generator, start up the generator, warm up the engine, and then drive it away. The whole point of this snowmobile was to help you drive through a tunnel completely full of poison, which you could definitely play the floor as lava and use boxes to get through without even having it. But then when you get through this tunnel, you're immediately roadblocked right away. You don't even get a chance to drive the snowmobile properly. And that's a good thing because when you do get a chance to drive it, it's horrible. Your first experience driving this on an open road, or open ice as you should say, is with a gunship following you trying to kill you. This snowmobile handles horribly. It's quite literally the boat from Water Hazard, but incredibly slippery.
Hey, remember that part in Half-Life 2 where you got chased by a helicopter in the boat? Well, now we're just gonna do that again, but with a, oh fuck. Well, that's unfortunate, and I have gotten the snowmobile completely stuck, and I can no longer drive it. Cool. Fun video game. So you guys wanted to play Water Hazard, but worse, right?
Oh, also that gunship has a Strider cannon. Thanks. Anyway, you drive avoiding this gunship for a while, you stop at a crane, you get out, you grab a key from the crane, you open up the crane door, and there's no power in the crane. So you're forced to drive all the way back, unlock this door, turn on the power, drive all the way back to the crane, just to lift something out of the way so you can keep going. I almost quit here. The whole game is nonsensical roadblocks that pad out time for no reason. Not too much longer after this, you get a rocket launcher to shoot this gunship down, and they removed the laser guiding system. You're just straight firing rockets hoping you hit the gunship. That's where I said, fuck this game, I'm out. I was not exaggerating when I said this is a 2-hour mod stretched out to 6 hours because it takes so much of your time doing fucking nothing. If you don't believe me, Bollocks did a playthrough which took about 2 hours and 20 minutes. He knew exactly where he was going, never got stuck anywhere because he had played the game before. Meanwhile, me, on my first try, I streamed for 5 hours, said, fuck this, I am done. And at that point where I said fuck this, there was about 30 or 40 minutes left in Bollocks' playthrough, which would probably translate to about an hour and a half of gameplay. I really can't stress enough how much this game does not respect your time. The puzzles are annoying as all hell, they're not satisfying, and they're hardly even puzzles. They're usually just annoying fetch quests or find something in the environment that's incredibly cluttered. It's really disappointing because, as I said, these weapons are fantastic, and if there was more combat, it would have been an awesome mod. The makings of a good game are there, but they're entirely wasted on attempts of puzzles that just don't need to exist. Every puzzle has 6 different extra steps, and it just feels like you never are going forward, which is a problem for a Half-Life game, because that's part of the reason why Half-Life is so satisfying. When you start Half-Life 1, by the time you beat Half-Life 1, it feels like you traveled across an entire continent, and that's incredibly satisfying. There's always forward motion. Not so much in this mod. Anyway, I think you get the point, and I have ranted enough. A huge thanks goes to everyone that joined me while I was streaming this game, because you were keeping me sane. If you want to join in the future, my Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon, and if you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time. Also, a big thanks goes to my sponsor, NordPass. Go to nordpass.com/gundragon to get 50% off a 1-year premium plan, or use code GUNDRAGON. As always, thank all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time.